Oh.
The amount of spur gears I have gone through in this truck is kind of hilarious. Yet every time I break one, I choose to replace it with another plastic spur gear. And while I replace this one, let me explain why. So in every RC car, you have what's called the drive line, or the drive train, which is basically all the gears and drive shafts that transfer the power from the motor to the wheels. And obviously, all those parts need to be quite durable to transfer all that power without breaking. And in a truck that has brushless electronics like this one here, and especially if all the parts in the driveline are stock, they're going to break at some point. You're going to break a drive shaft, you're going to strip out a gear, it's just going to happen. So when you upgrade those parts, you can kind of pick which part breaks first. In other words, you can pick a weak spot in the driveline, one part that you just don't upgrade. And the reason I don't upgrade my spur gear in this truck specifically is because the spur gear is the cheapest and easiest part for me to replace in this truck. It costs $3 for another plastic spur gear, and it's super easy to replace. But it's also quite durable, so if you're nice to it, then it will actually last quite a long time. Now you might be thinking, but Grant, what about the pinion gear? That's way easier to replace, and the same price, if not cheaper. And while yes, they might be the same price or cheaper depending on what kind you buy and where you buy it from, but they have this little tiny set screw on there. And I absolutely hate set screws because I have a tendency to strip every single one of those that I ever touch. Anytime I try to tighten one, anytime I try to loosen one, I almost always strip it out. So for me, it's well worth the extra 15 minutes it takes to replace the spur gear over the pinion gear, because when I replace the pinion gear, I usually end up stripping out the set screw before I even am able to take it all the way off. And now the set screw is stuck in there, it's stripped out, I can't even take this pinion gear off. A few times I've had to take it into a hobby shop so they can use their fancy tools to get it off because I just couldn't get it. And like I said earlier, they are still quite durable, so if you drive them nicely, they will last quite a while. Of course, I don't drive them very nicely, so mine break quite often, but I'm fine paying the extra $3 every now and then for that. Speaking of not driving cars very nicely, let's take this thing out for a rip and see if I can break it again.